a beautiful day for working outside on a synthesizer. So what I've got here is a ARP Axxe keyboard from the mid to late 70s, and I'm replacing all the bushings. These are all dried out, some are missing, they're decomposing. Also, while I'm at it, I do have a couple of these 3D printed parts that I made to replace. I think there's a couple of them are slightly misaligned, so the key rubs as it goes through this hole into this holder below that moves the contacts into the bus. So replace all the bushings, adjust these, plus one of these keys, the original piece is so loose fitting in there that it actually falls out periodically during playing. And when that falls out, the key no longer responds. So I'm going to snap off the original piece and replace it with one of the 3D printed parts. I actually have two different runs of these parts, so that I've got one that's a little thicker than the other, so I can, between the two of them, I can guarantee one will be thick enough to hold tight in the rubber holder that is attached to all the little J wires. Okay, and you can see all those red ones, those are ones that I've replaced. So there was about 10 or so that were busted up on this keyboard. I think somebody must have dropped the keyboard at some point and you know, just bam, just really smashed it hard to get a bunch of these to snap off. That's a bad bushing, in case you're wondering what a bad bushing sounds and looks like. You see the key is elevated. There's actually no bushing at all. So that's why it clacks. And then it comes up too high because the bushing is not there to prevent it from going all the way up. So when the bushing is there, it wraps around entirely this little stopper. So I'm going to pull them off. I've got brand new ones. I'm going to lubricate them all. This is a great keyboard lubricant. You get a tube of this on Amazon. It'll last you, I imagine, forever. And then gluing these on the replacement pieces. These are ABS, so you can use a plastic cement. So this is an ABS. You can see it there on the label. ABS cement. And I've also had success with Gorilla Glue. It doesn't take much to hold these. They just have to, you know, there's no real pressure or force on them. They hardly weigh anything. So now, got a few more springs to remove. Take all these keys out and to work replacing bushings. My technique for removing the springs, it's worth showing. First of all, I am wearing safety glasses because if I screw up and these springs take off, I don't want to get hit in the eye. So I put one finger over the end here. You can see better the key that's been removed. So the ring on the end of the spring is around that post. So I cover one end, and then the little tiny flathead screwdriver, I just pull the spring just enough to get out of the hole there. This way the spring doesn't take off across the work area on you and comes out nice and simple. That's the same way for reinstallation as well. So I've got the pieces removed, and one thing worth noting is that they're different sizes. So the black keys all have a longer post which goes down to the rubber holder that pushes the J wires into the bus bar. So you got to pay attention to that. Where they glue in, of course, matters because they need to go smoothly in and out of the hole and the metal plate here that the keys sit on. I guess you call it the key bed. Now these are my replacement pieces. The ones on the right, these new ones. This is my second run. These are actually slightly thicker. You can't see it, with the naked eye, but they're going to be slightly thicker, so they are going to fit tighter and better into these holders. These two were both kind of slippery, and I may replace some others just as I test them all. If they feel too loose, I know that they can become a problem and can actually disengage, and you don't have to take this keyboard so completely apart, to get at replacing one of these little parts. It's probably going to be hard to tell, but these are really deteriorated. You can see these little black bits around it. That's from taking them out. This one, you can see how the rubber's all gross. They come off, I should show. Really easy. Then you see they just break as they come off because the rubber is so decomposed. That's why I'm replacing them, because those are just not good and obviously getting worse, and they affect the feel of the keyboard, and they will just rot off on their own completely. If you look carefully at the new bushings, you will notice the top and the bottom are different. The top is more of a Y shape. The angle is flatter. At the bottom, you'll see that the pieces kind of come more straight out. So this is the top of the bushing. Now, I mentioned lubricating them. Why, you might ask? These parts, they don't really rub against anything else. In this case, the lubrication is for preservation of the rubber. It's simply going to last longer if it is lubricated, and won't get all dried out and crack and leave little bits of black rubber like the old ones. Of course, those were almost 45 years old. They were probably lubricated too, but I'm going to lubricate these anyway because it will make them last longer. The ARP Axxe is now all reassembled. You can see the red parts in there. Those are my 3D printed pieces. Now there were some extra challenges. It wasn't just as simple as putting the bushings on, although, putting the bushings on was quite easy. There are all the new bushings in there. They fit over the key stops just fine. But a couple of keys decided to stick. These two still are not great. But what I did was, if you bend the key stop just a little bit, it realigns how the bushing is fitting in the groove under the key. So as you reassemble a keyboard like this, that's something you definitely have to test for, to make sure that they're not sticking so bad that the spring doesn't return them to their normal position. These actually feel good right now. There's no more clacking. They're all perfectly even now. Nothing is rubbing. So overall, I'm pretty pleased, and I know that the keyboard works fine because I've already electrically tested it. Although they have this one horrible little fitting for the bus bars themselves. This little metal, it's like a little metal ring attached to the end of these wires to slip over the bus bar. They don't fit well, they don't fit tight, and this one broke in half. So I've still got to repair that, but that won't be hard. Some kind of a lug type attachment that I can bend around the bus bar ought to do it just fine. So ARP Axxe keyboard, or any pratt-read style keyboard for a monophonic synth, this is how you fix them up. be good for another 50 years.